Ladies and gentlemen, round two of I Need to Know.
I'm still doing
And
that
I'm
dance.
still doing it. I ain't changing it. Ain't going nowhere. How you been, man?
I've been good, man. You know, just it's February now.
And we're still in the same.
We're in the same predicament. So I mean, I feel like it's the same when we started.
And we're round two of season two of I Need to Know. Thank you so much for everybody that joined us in season one. Starting this season off strong, man.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur, investor, has his hands in many of things. We'll talk about it here on the show. A laundry list of things. We don't have enough time, all right? Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Richard. Yes, sir. There he is. Hi, man.
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much, man. I can't believe you guys actually got me on something. I don't like doing interviews.
Hey, this isn't an interview. This is just a conversation, man. We just talking.
Same thing.
All right. He does not like the camera at all. Hey, let's take a picture. No, let them do it. No, let them do it. That'll be all right.
I used to be the same. I feel like I still am the same, but that's why I take the pictures.
I'm one of the investors, if you want to call it, ownership, whatever new terms they have nowadays. But I'm vested in Plush Vodka.
Okay.
Okay.
It is it's started by my boy Malcolm. He was fortunate. I was fortunate enough for him to bring me in. Kind of, Tay Rich, can you deal with California? And our relationship has kind of evolved from there. But I'm also in real estate. I have properties here. I have properties back east. I'm into TGX Live, which is a streaming service. Which I'm hoping to get y'all show on my streaming service. I have a nice little ownership in that. I own a sports agency. We have just signed 2 players that's going to the NBA this year, one with Indiana and one with Dallas. So, I'm in that. And then I have other technology things that I'm into as well. But one of my nonprofit things is Pathfinder, which you've been a part of. We raise money for financial literacy and sports activities for kids. And then we have Center, which is basically having everybody go after their goals and dreams, and that's a hat, apparel.
Can I see that?
It's golfing, yeah. It's a real certified hat, inside out. So, I got gear on tap. So, as I said, Snacks has plenty of it.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of those things going. So I call myself an entrepreneur, but I think I'm vested in the minority community, if you want to be honest.
Yeah.
Because everything I do is attached to the minority community.
Now, before we segue into what you really need to know, we got to tap some of this on our taste buds. It's Plush Vodka.
So I'm gonna put the plum out today. So
Okay.
these are 200 milliliters. They're in stores available right now here in Bakersfield, places like Verdugo Market.
Okay.
Spot Food Mart, Beverage House, Fast Strips. So we're in a lot of places right now. And we're also some restaurants like New Western Mexico, Bricks Lounge. So we're in a lot of little places. So we have our Pure here. But today we're going to do what got us there
That
first.
needs no ice.
That needs no ice. That needs no introduction.
Needs no ice.
It's a very smooth.
Needs no ice at all.
And since you gentlemen have been privileged to that, so...
Now, Plush is a locally owned product as well, right?
Well,
it's not
this
locally
is,
owned.
This is
but
what I will
here.
say. It's we're I like to use the term. We have ownership that lives local and pushes it local. We're not a local company. We're really. I would like to call us. We're on the verge of being international because we're in Jamaica, Bermuda, Turks and Caicos. We just signed. Plus, in the United States, we're in New York, New Jersey, Florida, Georgia, Delaware.
Obviously, Bakersfield.
California.
Yeah.
We just got a deal with Nevada. We just got a deal with Illinois. We just got a deal with Alabama. And we're stretching. We're stretching. We got some other places I'm probably forgetting, and they're going to kill me later for it, but
It's
that's
all good.
all right. Put it this way, we're in about 11 states right now and growing. I won't get into specific numbers, but I can tell you in California, we're about to exponentially grow over the next 2 years, and I think that's important. But, we want people to support us here in Bakersfield because, to me, I live here in Bakersfield. I want Bakersfield to be the one that really brought it out. So I'm proud to say that I'm not from Bakersfield, but since I've been a resident of Bakersfield for over 15 years now, I'm proud that we started here first instead of LA, San Francisco, San Jose, some of the places that we're already in. Gotcha. They always ask me, why'd you start in Bakersfield? I said, one, I live here, and two, I believe in the people here, and the people believed in me when it was a time where no one else did.
Right.
Well, that's good. Well, and what I would say to that, if you do live in Bakersfield, if you have tried plush before, let Rich, know what you think about it. Where did you get it from? Maybe, you can drop that in the comments and kind of let us know. If there's a place that doesn't have it, I'm sure Rich would love to know about that. And see if we, can get, because I'm sure there are, some accounts
Yeah, I think
out
the
there
biggest
that you
things,
would
if I was going
love
to ask the
get.
crowd for anything in specific, is go ask for it at the stores, because people say, oh, it's alcohol, it's another vodka. One, no, we're 8 times distilled. We're gluten free. We're certified non-GMO corn that we use in the single state farm down in Florida. We're American made, bottled and distilled. And we're very smooth, but what also makes us unique is we're only plum flavor on the market. You guys know me really well. When you guys purchase my product, I dump that back into the community. We hire people here in Bakersfield. We're hiring people all over the country right now. We're providing jobs. Hey, that gives people experience. That helps us grow the company. That helps us explore new opportunities for people as well. So, that's a big thing for me, just trying to give out jobs. So when everybody else is not hiring, we're hiring rapidly.
Now, Rick is one with a man of a lot of conversations, but there's one particular thing he wants to speak on tonight. I'm pretty excited about that because we don't talk about it a lot. And I'll let you present the question to our friends that tune into the show. Well, what is it that you particularly need to know or want to know on today?
What I need to know is why in the minority communities, I want to use that word strongly, minority communities, we don't have economic empowerment. Why don't we pay for our own stuff? And it's specifically in the black community. We are the major consumers around the world.
Okay.
Of a lot of products. Mm-hmm. But yet when you go to look at those boardrooms and you go to look at the people that are out here who actually own the product, they don't look like us. And they don't look like a lot of the minorities that we're talking about as well. So we don't support ourselves in a lot of ways. We don't go, like for instance, if you want, most of the products I have on are black owned. These are people who made these products, to the sneakers on my feet. I got Master P's on right now, but I got his Maniatas. So we don't have a lot of things that we support, but we'll go buy $1,000 pair of Nikes, but we won't pay $275 for Master P sneakers. We'll go buy Lay's, Cheetos, off the hinge, but we won't go get Wrap Snacks. We'll say it's too expensive. So we don't support this stuff, and then we wonder why we go out of business. Typical example is if I go out to a party, and you've been witness to this, and I say, yo, buy my bottle of Plush. You tell me, now I'm going to get Tito's. Well, Tito's is not in your community, supporting your community. Tito's is a good brand. I don't have anything against the owners of Tito's, but we have just a quality brand as they have. Why it's not being supported? But it goes back to, I had a hat and t-shirt company. People wanted me to give them the gear, but they didn't want to pay for it, and they don't understand that costs money to produce, and that money goes back into giving out scholarships, sneakers to kids, things of that nature, teaching them these financial literacy classes. So economic empowerment is way, way high on my list of things that I think that we have a major problem with, and I think it's getting worse, not better. Because when the influx of the money comes in, I can tell you what people spent that money on from the stimulus package. Go find me the people who sold out PS5, which is still sold out. That's where their money went to. Did anybody really start a business? Not really. And if they did start a business, they started it around something that didn't make sense. Did they go out and they take that money and invest in stocks, bonds? No. People are saying, well, I'm hurting, Rich. I can't afford those things right now. And I call BS on that. Because I'm the same guy, I go out and see him spend $500 on some Jordans, $400 on the PS5. Hit the club in Bricks, buying bottles. I love Bricks. Bricks is one of my customers. But, that money
Priorities
is not priority to what you need to really focus on. So if we don't have that type of engagement with each other, and I hate to make y'all show so serious, y'all loose guys. I'm
No.
serious guy. But I think that we better start waking up, because what's happening to us right now is there's a whole new financial system coming in place, and people don't even know what's going on. I have posed a question to your crowd they can put in the comments. How many people know about crypto? How many people own crypto? How many even know what the impact of what's happening behind the scene and why crypto is coming on the scene so hard? We don't know that. So you're going into a new financial system, you don't even know what it's all about. You don't even have an invested interest. You don't take the time to study that stuff. I spend at least 3 to 5 hours per day on financial news, just financial news. I think that we better start empowering ourselves. Why don't we request black-owned businesses? You see what you said at the beginning of the show? Go ask for it. Mm-hmm. We advertise all the time. Why aren't people saying, hey, I'm going to support that business. I'm going to keep that business going. So that's kind of what it is.
On the outside looking in and speaking for, and I'm not, I would say I'm in the younger generation, but speaking for the younger generation and the times that we live in now, I believe that everybody's just going for what's cool. So in the sense of that, and anybody correct me when I'm wrong, what's cool? So in the sense of that, how do we make this cool for the younger generation? Because like Nike, for instance, it's a brand. It's been cool forever. It has a Jordan brand on it. So that's the coolest thing. Granted, I always ask, why are people paying $200 for a pair of shoes? But it's what's cool, and that's what people are talking about in school. Adidas, it's what's cool. Ciroc, it's what's cool. Tito's is what's cool. So how do we make these brands, these black brands like Master P and such? Because I get the frustration too. Like, cause I ask the same questions. Why, even just supporting friends in their upcoming business? Why do we have to wait until some celebrity comes support them for us to finally start, popping off? But I think it just comes down to the simple fact of what's cool at the time.
So I think the real question is, why do we make all these brands cool? We make Gucci cool. No one was messing with Gucci until Dapper Dan started doing Gucci, Louis Vuitton stuff. We blew that stuff up.
Those are the brands I always ask, like, why do we keep buying all this?
We buy those brands because we make them cool.
Yeah.
So the real question is, why don't we make these other brands cool?
Yeah.
Because we don't support each other. We're always looking for the quick hit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why they're not making it cool, because it's not cool enough yet.
Yeah, and I just said, well, once again, because I think it goes back to what you're saying, is because we don't make it a priority to make our own stuff cool.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, in my personal opinion, we as minorities don't have enough self-esteem within ourselves to make it cool. It's like somebody laughed at me and said, oh man, you paid for those Master P's, man, they look really nice, but I wouldn't have paid. I would have go get me some Jordans. And I sit there and I go, well, give me the history of Jordans. Does Jordan own Jordans? Do you know that question? Does he really own the Jordan brand? Or does he just wanted to own his Jordan brand? Or does Phil Knight really own the Jordan brand? People don't really understand. Who distributes the product is the one I'm worried about. What I started to learn in the liquor business is, it doesn't matter if I own the liquor. Who owns my distribution?
That's who's making it.
That's who's making the money. So we've made it a point to be involved with our distribution process, our bottling process. Why don't we own any bottling factories? Why can't I find one black-owned bottling company that gives me a reasonable price and a great quality product?
Do you think, and I'm not speaking just on the Plush vodka, because Plush is most definitely a reasonable price, but in some of these brands, do you think they're overpricing too fast?
No, I think the reason why a lot of these products are overpriced, just to educate a lot of people on this, is the reason they're overpriced is because of what I just talked about. Because you got to go to a distiller, you got to go to a sneaker factory, and you're just a new guy in, so they're going to charge you top dollar because they don't know if you're going to make it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get my money now.
Yeah.
Where Nike can go in, and they got a name, they can do whatever they want and say, listen, I pay you pennies on the dollar. As I said, if we really feel like it, like, listen, if you buy a Jordan brand, where's your product made? China. If you buy Master P's, same price, a little bit cheaper, 10 times better quality. Why? Because it's made in Italy, where Jordan originally started at. Now, Master P is using that same blueprint and has his sneakers done in Italy. Our product is made in America in a small little distillery in Jacksonville, Florida. But most people's products are made in France, overseas, Italy, and they're getting cheaper prices. That's why we don't have jobs here. We have to start taking more pride into what we're doing here and doing for ourselves. And I think one of the things is, it goes back to the original question. Why aren't our stuff cool? Because we haven't made it cool yet. Because we are ashamed of who we are as people. And you see it, because if you have to wear all that fancy stuff to make yourself look cool, and I can go get you a billionaire right now who's a good friend of mine. I could bring him in this room. You think he was the poorest dude on the road. His truck is 20 years old. We value ourselves based on possessions, not based on the history and the knowledge and the education and what we do in our community. We base it on the things that we have. We are only affiliated by things.
But I also believe that, because this is pretty much a generational wealth topic, that it's not talked about a lot in. I'm gonna just speak for the black community because that's what I grew up in. It's not talked about in the black community because our families, majority of our families, are just trying to freaking make it.
Not true either. Not true either. I know you're saying that, and that's the excuse that we give each other.
No, but what I'm saying, I think that's one of the reasons not talked about is to their children or grandkids is because it's not something that they went through. So
I can take you to some of my other compadres, whether they're Caucasian, Japanese, Asian, whatever you want to go, and I can tell you, those kids are talked to about money. They'll talk to them about the bills, but that's because we have shame in that. If you miss a payment on your car note, you're probably in panic mode. Some of my Caucasian friends, they don't care if they miss a payment. They looking at you like, Rich, what you tripping for, man? If you miss a payment, so what? They getting their money from somebody. They don't care about claiming bankruptcy. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, prior, has declared and proudly that he has bankrupt companies on purpose. They do not care about the value of those type of things like we do. They have shamed us into believing that we owe everything. If you miss anything, you're wrong. We don't have any black banks that we can go to that really support us. So everything goes back to economic empowerment. We have black banks that are out there. We don't use them. Why? Because people like Bank of America,
they're not cool.
Citibank, have made us believe that we have to go to those institutions and put our money together. Look at the jobs that we have. HR. We don't have any real major jobs in the client relationships. We have jobs that are easy to dispose of, so it's easy to get rid of us in the job market. We're not the chief financial officers, the CEOs.
But the crazy part about it, I'm starting to see, I don't know if it's because of last year, but it's a lot of first of blacks this year, off the rip.
What do you mean?
There's the first black this, the first black that, the first
You really
black.
believe that? Or you think that's what the news has told you?
Well, I'm in news business, so I'm telling you that's what the news is. But perceiving from people that's not in the news, yes, that's what it is.
Yeah. And that's what they want.
Because the NASCAR chick, she's been in NASCAR for quite some time. They're just now telling you.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. She been doing this for a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We ain't the first to anything. You go back and do some real history and figure out we invented half this stuff.
Well, of course. Art, I don't know if you got anything, but let's go to the.
No, I think you guys have a great conversation. I think there are so many pivots to the different things that you guys have said and the different points you've made. If I was to sum it up, I know we're going to move on. I think ultimately it's about education, and the education to the extent of that gives you the power to understand the different levels that you're going to go through in life. To your point, if I file for bankruptcy, the negative stigma that is attached to that is one thing. If I educate myself from a business standpoint, businesses will purposely bankrupt because what are they really doing? They're getting rid of certain kind of debt in order to then move forward on this side. So there is no shame in that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But again, you have to be educated in that sense.
Right.
When you spoke of the upbringing in terms of, were finances and were bills discussed, you break the stigma of the negativity of that by having those conversations. It's shameful as a parent to tell your 14-year-old that
is it?
Your lights might get cut off if you've never had that conversation.
Right.
But if you have that conversation and say, hey, this happened because
exactly.
hey, we did this, then you break that stigma.
Exactly.
So the beginning of the entire conversation, I would say, I think we are on both sides when it comes to minorities. I think we're on both sides of having that empowerment. I think we have some great models of knowledge and power in the financial sector and things that they're doing, starting schools, doing scholarships, doing different things. Do I think we need to attach ourselves to those particular models more? Yes. And follow their lead. When you guys bring up being cool, so to speak, I think that is easier to do.
Right.
It's difficult to, and I just use you as an example, it's difficult to follow Rich and get out on that beaten path and, you know, drum up money to give out for a scholarship, but it's easier to follow Snacks and go buy the Gucci slippers that he has. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's easier to do that. Does that make that person
Bad? No.
lazy or dumb or none of
No.
that?
No.
But
No.
that's when you're in your 20s. Then when you get in your 30s and your 40s, you're going to wish that you would have followed, you know, Rich when he was, you know, doing the things that he's doing. So, I mean, I think one reason why, and it's been, you know, discussed in many different arenas, but I think one reason why you look at the importance of financial literacy and being empowered is because, you know, keeping in mind how most minorities came to America, you weren't afforded that opportunity to learn those things.
Right.
So think of in a minority, what minority really, I'll say maybe now, but not too much, has old money. Not many minorities have old money.
That's what I was getting
You
to
know,
earlier.
so it's like
all new money.
That's what I was getting to
So
earlier.
when you
Yeah.
look at that, it's like, I don't want to say give people slack. I mean, cut them some slack. But I'm like, if we're as minorities still trying to figure out this business of always talking about finances, always doing this, I can understand X. Now, in saying that, I'm kind of talking about like my generation, your generation of like attaching themselves to it. The generation behind us, I know sometimes they get a hard and they get a bad rap or whatever. They are going to be the ones that understand it.
I actually, to be honest with you,
Like they're going
I
to be
think they're getting it more now
They are. That's
than
what I'm
we
saying.
ever got
That's
it.
what I'm
They
saying. They're, so as much as we are
They are.
trying to preach the financial part of it all, and because we recognize as we get closer to retirement or whatever it may be, how important that is, and why we want to start schools and why we want to do this, why we want to do this, because we see it. The generation behind us that one is benefiting from individuals like ourselves and other people on helping them. They're going to get it. They're growing up with the technology that we're learning how to use. They're growing up with it. So you got to, and they're developing it, and they're the ones that are actually making it. So positively thinking, you would say, okay, well, my kids, I don't have kids, y'all know that.
I got three of
but
them.
you see what I'm saying? Like my future kids, your kids now, they're going to understand why dad was always pulling them into those meetings. Your kids are going to understand why mom was sitting them down and going over what whole life and term insurance is and all these different things. They're like, why are we talking about this? I'm 10 years old. But when they're 30,
It makes
they're going to
sense.
fully understand it. You know what I mean? You control if you're going to be stressed out at the end of the month because you went off and did this, you went off and did that or whatever. Those are the conversations that weren't being had
Right.
10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Be it by shame or in some respects, just pure knowledge. My parents, maybe my grandparents, maybe your parents, your grandparents, they may not have finished school. So some of the things, knowledge-wise, they didn't know how to have those conversations. And we've got to understand that. And,
Yeah.
And in some respects, we have to accept that. I know a lot of people will say, you don't have to accept. I'm not saying accept where you're at. You always want to get better. But you have to accept if you grew up with your grandparents who maybe only went to school through the 8th grade by circumstance because they had to get in the workforce. And that's how they raised your parents. And then your parents, maybe they graduated high school, had no thought of college. How can you expect them to then have those conversations to you?
What I'm having a problem with is, and you said it, these kids behind us are way smarter than we are.
Way smart.
I mean, they just have so much access that we never had. What scares me is there's not enough wisdom behind those kids with the knowledge to make them understand what they really have.
Yeah.
They don't understand the importance of a cell phone. They think it's something to go on social media every day. They don't know how to make money with it, and that's a money maker.
Well, and I agree with you, and that's why I say every generation. I mean, I know it's kind of a phrase a lot of people use is, you know, wanting to leave it better than, you know, how it was given to you or what have you. But I think that's why every generation is important to each generation, because you have the younger group. I guess you got the grandpa that has no idea how to use a cell phone, but the 8-year-old knows how to do everything on it. But that grandpa was a lawyer for 40 years, so he can tell his grandkid how to make money off of that.
Exactly.
I mean, all of that has to work together. But like you said earlier, it is a pride thing. It is I don't want to use the word ego necessarily, but it is an ego thing in the sense of within the minority community of I got to look a certain way so I can give off this particular.
Was it fake it till you make it?
You know, yeah,
Fake
like
it till you make it look.
I got to give off this persona, so I got to look this way. Where inside I'm extremely insecure, and I really don't know what I'm talking about or like what's going on around me. Versus, and I saw a video, I think it was Inky Johnson maybe or something like that, of saying like, surround yourself with people that you can be your true authentic self with. Like say like, you know what, dude, I have no idea what we talking about, and not be judged.
And not be judged
because
for
the
it.
only way
Right.
you're gonna learn is by saying you don't know.
Disadvantage that I see when I'm here in Bakersfield, and I use Bakersfield as an example, is one, we're a very small minority in as far as numbers here. So we're like 7%, I believe, of the community. Half of them have not been educated. Half of them are very poor. I mean, not poor, normal poor, like poor, Midwest poor. They have very bad habits. Even though they're trying to do good, their habits are so bad that it's hard for them to get out of their own way. And then when guys like you or I come up and try to talk to them, they can't really relate, so they revert back to what they know. And that is that, yo, get out of here, don't want to hear it. It's as much as this is going to be funny when I say it, it was kind of like tough for me. I'm hardcore Brooklyn. I grew up in the 70s, 80s. Nobody really knows what that means. I grew up when crack started and when it went crazy. When best friends were turned into zombies. When best friends turned into mega drug dealers who were knocking off bodies. I remember going back and doing basketball tournaments in Brooklyn. You know, you see some clips of some of the stuff I did there, and I was giving out money. The kids in my neighborhood were calling me a sucker because I had a job. Here I am, giving back to my community, working a great job, have businesses. I was the sucker. The local drug dealer was the hero. We have psychologically killed ourselves that we shame ourselves into believing these things, our possessions, are more important than the people we surround ourselves with to get educated up, to learn, to get to the next level.
Mentorships are very important.
Yes.
And they're important on so many different levels, but they're, in my opinion, they're important mainly because knowledge, held in is knowledge that is wasted. You know, if you're not telling someone how you did it, like you said, old generations was like, hey, I got mine, you gotta go out and get yours.
Get up in the morning, work
like
this
part,
field.
like part of that is inspiring, because what they're telling you is you've got to work hard like I did in order to have this success. But how people get left behind is I don't really tell you what it is that I'm doing. All you know is you saw your grandpa get up at 5 a.m. and he didn't come back until 10 p.m. or a.m. and then p.m. But you don't really know what he was doing. You just know that he left and was gone all day, and then y'all had a house and you had food. But if dad comes home and says, hey, I was gone for these 12 hours, here's what I did. Now, of course, not every day. My man tired. He got, you know what I'm saying? But if he came home and was like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is when I say you got to get up, you got to go do these things, this is what I'm talking about, so you need to follow this blueprint, then how many people are you then pulling with you?